Welcome to Flying for Flavour. When we first taped this episode, it was Monday, March the 9th, and so much has changed in the last 2 weeks. And I wasn't sure whether I should be editing it out or retaping it, and I thought it was honest and beneficial to tape and show the episode in its entirety with a little intro and outro added in. So intro is, I am currently in a 14-day isolation. I am not showing any symptoms of COVID-19, but as you will find out in this episode, I did leave the country for a short while, but I will update you at the end of the episode on everything that transpired in that very short period of time. So here is the episode. Hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Flying for Flavour.
Hello.
Hello. So we were trying to wait until all three of us could be here, but there's so much going on that we needed to. We couldn't wait for Cynthia this time. We waited for Stacy because she was away, and then she came back, and then, anyways. So how's your travel life going? It's crazy.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we were just talking before, and I told her to stop telling me so much because I wanted to wait and talk about it together.
Yeah.
Because she just came back from a trip, and I am leaving on Thursday for my little 1 week getaway.
Yes.
And as much as I'm very excited about it, my preparations for this trip are much different than I have in the past, obviously. So depending on when you're watching or listening to this, it is, I don't even know what week it is. So the date is what's the March the what today? Is that awful? It's a Monday.
The 9th? Is it the 9th today?
It is the 9th today,
It's
day
the
after
9th?
the International Women's Day.
There we
That's right,
go.
I did the brunch yesterday. So it's March the 9th.
Okay.
So the market took another shit kicking today. Actually did weird stuff, according
Yes.
to my husband.
Yes.
And then what else was announced? I said I was just telling you that the Canadian government were doing some kind of live press conference, and they were telling people to stay
Travel
off cruise
advisory.
Travel
Wow.
advisory to stay off cruise ships. And
AKA the floating petri dishes.
on the weekend, news broke about a third of Italy being quarantined.
Yep.
What else? It's just been like
It's just, they just keep popping up. I think they multiply even in the night.
And my Twitter feed, because there's a few travel bloggers, writers that I kind of follow on Twitter. Like they're all just basically sharing that, like, hey, is anybody not traveling? Hey, is anybody postponing their trip? Is anyone still planning their trip for the spring, summer?
People are nervous.
Yeah, and it's so this is what I was going to tell her. Well, I'm telling you now. So originally, I had booked off a week in March, and it turned out to be March break week, which was stupid on my part. But it just by chance that I had booked all of these classes. Thanks, darling. I know. What was I saying?
March break, you had picked the
March break, it's,
Yeah.
prices are up as it is, whatever. And at the time, we had so much going on, and I thought, do I really want to go away for a full week? Maybe if I just did 4 or 5 days, I started pricing it out. It's not worth it to go away to an all-inclusive resort 4 or 5 days sometimes.
Yeah.
So we decided on New York at the time. So I booked a Porter flight. We were going to go to New York for 4 or 5 days, and I was basically just going to walk around jeans, t-shirts, sneakers, and just zone out for a few days.
Yeah.
And then as soon as, because I'm a bit of a news junkie, as y'all know by now, and as I am seeing how the Americans were so slow to react and change their way of doing things and rolling out testing and everything else,
yes.
all I kept thinking was, and luckily this was like a week and a half ago, that my gut was telling me, women, listen to your intuition, was saying, I don't think landing in the New York airport right now would be a good idea, was my number one. And then I thought wandering around like downtown Manhattan, Grand Central Station, like I feel like it was just going to be, timing-wise, would not be a good idea. So I thought, you know what, I got the credit from Porter so I can use it for future flights, which is good. I think I had to pay a cancellation fee, like each flight, whatever. So I think we lost $200 between the two of us.
Okay, that's not too bad.
And then my hotel that I had booked in Manhattan
I had lost $200 because it was just their policy was that you had to pay for one night's, basically equivalent
Right.
to one night stay.
If you
out of the
cancel
deal,
before a
right?
certain
If you cancel
point.
by a certain, but even then,
Yeah.
regardless, unless you canceled like a month before,
They would still charge you.
The way it worked out. So I thought, okay, well, it's still, I didn't have to pay this, I have to pay that. And then we decided, okay, well, we basically canceled that one and booked that one the same day. I did it all in the morning.
Right,
I said,
right.
while it's still fresh in my brain.
Yes.
And I started looking online, and I guess at the time, and it still hasn't hit yet, unless Cuba is also hiding some of their numbers, but you never know.
No, I don't think so.
So Cuba is one of the few places. There's a lot of the Caribbean area that have not
starting.
been hit. And they're not doing reporting cases aside from
I know.
Mexico.
Well, the day I got back was Saturday, and then
tell
the
everyone where
Monday
you were.
I was in the Dominican. And so I went to this little place called Emotions by Holdalpa. It's I didn't know, I hadn't heard of it. I saw it. It was a really good price point for me, so that's why I went. Get away, and it was in a place called Don Julio. I landed in Santo Domingo. When I landed was the first, actually boarding the plane in Toronto was the first indication that, maybe people are actually a little nervous about this virus thing. And there were like 6 people in line in front of me with masks on, going through security to board the plane. And it happened that the majority of them were on my flight. And I'm like, so I, having been my background of being in pharmaceutical repping, I was wondering, are they sick? Or not trying to get sick? Because normally when you go into a clinic, people put it on if they're going to cough, right? Like,
Correct.
please put it on.
You're not supposed to wear the mask to protect yourself from other people. You're supposed to put the mask on to protect them from you.
Yes, and so the funny thing is that I'm sitting there, are they sick? Why are they coming on a flight if they're sick? First of all, so my germophobia kicked in, and I was like, maybe I should have brought mine. And I had them, but I had put them in my pack suitcase because I was just like, well, you never know what's going to happen, right? And so I ended up, I landed, that second indication, I landed and every single border person in the Dominican had masks on. Though they had just the little ones that would do nothing for them. But unfortunately, they don't realize. And I kind of went, okay, maybe this is something I should be concerned about. But again, I didn't. But when I landed back in Canada, it was just like last week, Wednesday, there are 2 cases in La Romana.
La Romana?
Yeah, but it was a gentleman, an older gentleman, not too old, but who came from Italy and
There
brought
it
it
is.
with him. And that's all it takes is one person. And I have a feeling now that Dominican is going to get hit because they don't have that security.
So
Yeah.
I guess Cuba's been a little more strict, which I was happy to hear.
Morsels
They
of
take-
goodness.
You don't get off the plane until they take your temperature. So they're actually pre-screening people. And so if you have any kind of a fever, you are now being sent, basically you're sent back. So you can't even get on the island. I went, oh, I like that. That at least it's not doing a full-on test, but at least it's checking for people who have symptoms, have a fever, anything else. It's getting them started before they even get off the plane.
Right? And Cuba's good. That way they do the spray in the plane before you land. I can't remember if it was going in. I think it's going into Cuba, which is really weird. Going in and then landing in Canada, they do the spray. And I think it's really fascinating, but it's only Cuba.
Yeah. So, I mean, they haven't had any cases reported yet, which I'm happy about. So
You'll be fine.
But that's the whole thing. Like, we're packing accordingly, and the packing's been different. Can you bring me the bottle, just so I can put it on the screen? So, I always have to start out. So, on a more positive note.
Yes, food.
Food and wine. So, I'm having Parmesan truffle fries just because it's on the menu, and thank you. And churrasnos, which are deep fried bacon. And she hadn't had them yet before, so.
They're morsels of goodness.
So now you know why we give you a little bowl. Because so I have these when I'm in Spain, but it's sometimes they put them on the full strip and they sell you the whole strip, and it's just, I looked up the calorie count, it's just insane. But anyways, so today we're drinking, which is completely new. This is Consommé from here in Niagara, Consommé Estate Winery. This is their lakefront series, and it's peach wine. And to be completely honest, Alex and I were just down there visiting a bunch of the wineries down there to buy stuff for the bar, and I was almost going to skip this one because I kept thinking fruit wine, right?
Yeah,
it's just going to be like, like the
flavored beverage,
like the raspberry wine, like cooler type, right? And PJ, director of sales, in case he's watching this, hey PJ, he goes, no, I want you to try this. He said, just drink it and think sangria. And I went, okay. That's fine. I just rolled my eyes or whatever and had a sip, and I went, oh, I like this.
It is very lovely.
It's very, very
lovely.
very dry.
Smells beautiful.
It's going to be a stunner in the summer, especially when it's cold, served really chilled. So it is made with, so 90% is actually pressed peaches from the neighboring farm.
Yummy.
And then 10% is their classic Viognier. So it's still got a bit of a floral note to it.
It does.
But it's not overly sweet. But yeah, I can just feel it's like that peach, that white sangria.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Anyways, it's a beautiful wine. You can't get it at the LCBO, sorry. But you can get it here
Yes.
at the bar. And we're going to be hosting my own little promo. We're going to do a walk around tasting with Consummate Wineries. The winery's coming here to set up, and we're going to have all of their wines, good selection of their wines because they have a lot for people to walk around and taste them. So tickets are available online if you want them.
A night not to miss.
Yeah, so we're going to do it in 2 waves so we can get as many people through here because again, it's a little place. It's a little place. But anyways, Consummate. Be a Consummate.
Yum.
Okay, so we were talking about, packing.
Yes.
So here's my hell in my packing. So I'm starting to think of little things, and this is the first time I've ever done this. I had to pack. I'm packing like I won't come home when I think I'm coming home.
Are you overpacking on purpose?
Well, yes and no.
Yeah.
So it's not pardon me, Tresnos.
They're so yummy.
I think the piece is too big. And the saltiness with the wine.
Lovely.
And with this paw has been shoved. Like I'm on commercial break so I can eat.
Let's just eat. We're gonna do an outtake. Let's just eat the stuff.
Just eat the stuff.
So lovely.
So I'm doing things like bringing double the amount of shampoo and conditioner that we normally bring.
Okay.
Same thing with like hairspray. The little Tide packs for doing laundry. I was gonna buy I usually have a couple of the little ones, but I ended up finding at Walmart the slightly larger ones to do it for full load.
Oh, nice.
And I figured at least we only have to open one and we can wash all of our stuff at the same time. Bought bug spray and stuff like that.
Always. Yeah.
Because I always have to have it, but
yeah.
I know if I'm going to be there longer. For me, it's not necessarily just mosquitoes. For me, it's sandflies. They love me.
I hate
like
those.
After bite for that too. Other thing, just for, as you mentioned, the masks. Hopefully, we'll have them in time, or I'll grab 2 from you. But we have. That's just in case we get there and we do start getting symptoms for whatever reason. At least we're not infecting other people, right? For the week that we're there. Got extra allergy meds, cold and sinus meds.
Yep.
I can't take the nighttime. I'm going to take daytime anyways now. So I just packed some of those. But I packed enough. I think I packed everything, enough stuff, a little bit of Tylenol, stuff to take me for 2 weeks at minimum. Extra sunscreen, right? Because I'm going to be there longer. Trying to think what else did I pack. But yeah, my brain's just changing with all of these. Okay, well I have to have this. I need to have this. I need to have that.
And if you were to get sick, what would you need? You would need Gravel, maybe Imodium, maybe a cough syrup or a cough something. Cough tabs, or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, those things. And I know they were suggesting, and I do this all the time, but a week previous to going, I usually up my vitamin C dose, my vitamin D, and my vitamin Bs because it just keeps your immune system on the high.
Well, I'm taking the multivitamins, so my multivitamins, I'm making sure, I have them out on my bathroom counter, so I make sure to take them every day. And I have been for the last few days to a week anyways. But I'm also taking the Cold FX, right? Which is, I'm not sure, depending if you're listening or watching this in the States, but I know Cold FX is a Canadian thing.
You can find it in the States as well.
Yeah, but it's basically it's an immune booster. So some people try to take it when they're sick, but it's too late by then. It's needing to just help your immune system. So I'm taking one of those every day as well. So I said between that, preparing in advance, making sure you have things like hand sanitizer. I bought little packages of
It's good. They're hard to find lately.
I know. Well, I already had some. I actually have. I'm going to post a picture, see if you can see a picture of this on the video, or it'll be in the show notes. But in the door, my car door, where the hand, I know you have a little well that you can put things. I have the full-on pump of hand sanitizer.
That's awesome.
Because I'm in my car so much now, I had to go and pick up a sandwich drive-through. So between my car steering wheel or whatever, I started thinking differently. Where normally I would have no hesitation eating it while I'm driving and touching my steering wheel and everything else. Now I'm thinking, okay, I got to get in the habit of need to have completely clean hands before I eat.
Yes.
So even in my car, I waited until I stopped in a parking lot before I went into the next store. Right? Sanitized my hands, then had my sandwich, then washed it, then before I went back in. But it's this constant, and then I go into Walmart and they have those little dispensers for the wipes to
Grab
wipe
them.
in.
Use them.
They were all clogged.
Oh.
The one going into the store, the one going out of the store. So then I had to make this conscious effort while I was in there going, okay.
Don't touch my face.
Anyways, and if everyone tells you that everyone's out of toilet paper, they're lying.
They're not.
Walmart had lots. But someone was saying, there's no toilet paper left at Costco. Okay, so maybe people at Costco are going a little crazy.
Right? Or maybe they're having to transfer them to other stores. You know? I know
Yeah,
that.
you don't know.
Yeah.
But it's making people crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's toilet paper for people.
Yeah.
It's not the apocalypse.
The stores will still be open.
Essentially, my way of planning, because it's not that I'm being paranoid. I mean, there was one guy I saw on, he was being interviewed on a news program or something. It was on YouTube, and he is a disaster relief expert. That's what he does. And he said, just because of all the training he's had, he always has 3 months supply of everything he could possibly need. If he had to cocoon himself in his house for 3 months, he has that. So he has like paper towels. So he has like a stock room, essentially, with all the things that he needs: non-perishables, medicine stuff, toilet paper, paper towels, cleaning supplies.
They're saying though this outbreak is not as bad as SARS was.
No, and I think it's not that it's going to be whether it's as bad or not. We just don't know the length of time it's going to be, and we need to be able to prepare for the whole thing is it's the 2 weeks. It's the 2 weeks time frame, right?
Yeah.
2 weeks for you to get through the symptoms, 2 weeks whatever. So we prepared enough for that if we had to be quarantined on the island of Cuba.
Absolutely.
We're ready for two weeks.
Yeah.
If we are, and also means getting my affairs ordered here for the 2 weeks, because they're all expecting me to be gone for a week. So I've actually planned out
just in
menu
case.
items, stock them up stuff. They have tons of wine. Don't worry, people. They always have wine. Alex is basically going to run things while I'm gone. Everything's going to run like tickety-boo. Staff's all ready to go. But I had to start thinking about those things because
just
in the
case.
service industry, they can't work from home.
No, and there'll be a point where if it's that bad, they'll shut you down, right? But that'll be that. It's not going to get that bad. It really won't. I don't think.
If anything, like some people are sick, we may not be as busy for a period of time. So hours may get cut back a little bit, but we're not going to close, and we're not at that point. But that's the whole thing, is that we just don't have that option. I mean, Norm's business, he's lucky. He can do he does everything by teleconference.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
So he can work from wherever he is, and I'm still going to work while I'm gone anyways. My own stuff to do, but.
Yeah. Do you know what was interesting? I saw that there's a bunch of different things you can find on they've got different podcasts on it, and one of them is the myths and facts about the COVID-19, and one of them is that we will all be touched by it in the sense that we'll all catch it, but it depends on what risk category you're in. It's just like the next strain of flu. And it depends, it's how it's attacking is respiratory versus gastro or whatever. And at some point in time you will get it, whether it's this year, next year or something. And it depends on how they work it out. And I think that it's just kind of going a little bit berserk in terms of like hysteria.
Well,
of
it's
how
because
it's
it has to
being
do
handled.
with deaths.
Yes, of
Right?
course.
That would be a issue. It's like what to do. Like, I'm not concerned about, no, it sounds awful. I'm not concerned about my son, my kids, or my staff, that age group, the 20s and 30s.
Right.
Unless they're coming into, I mean, I haven't really heard a whole lot about people that age group getting it if they didn't already have a compromised immune system or whatever.
You might get it, but you won't even know it. There's a lot of people that get it and don't even have symptoms.
Correct.
So it's how your immune system
So
is.
older people, for sure, people who are sick. I know some people, though, who are in that age group, they're always sick, right? They're always catching something, and that's just their immune system.
Yep.
I'm not concerned about that. My parents are pretty good. I mean, it's like the once a year thing, they get a cold or whatever, but it's nothing crazy.
Right.
But I was telling, like, Norm's parents go to are going to the States all the time. So my first comment was, hey, maybe casinos would not be a good idea for them at the moment. Just on a pause on it. But here they haven't been going, they weren't planning to go back until June anyways. I know. Pause for this Therese nose break. Just sticking out my cheek. Yeah, we just can't do that too often.
That's really good.
Very good with the wine too. Okay, I'm gonna finish on that. So the only thing I wanted to share about that would be to planning ahead and not planning too far. So for those of you who are planning larger trips, I know because I am turning 50 this year, a lot of my friends are turning 50 and they're all starting to plan these. You gotta have 50 and something or other, right? So I've actually stopped my planning for the time being. So I have booked, my flights are booked to go, so I'm going to be, my flight booked to France and from Germany are booked.
Okay.
I have a couple of Airbnbs booked, but Airbnbs at least allow me a cushion of time that I can make changes or cancel if I need to.
Absolutely.
Which is great. So there's nothing non-refundable so far, aside from maybe the flights, which I'd have to worry about. And if travel insurance canceled me anyways, I'm okay.
Perfect.
Or if the airline did, right? So travel insurance is important. I already asked him. He said we just renewed, so he's got a booklet, so we'll have it with us about what's covered and what's not, and that kind of thing. Because if you do have to stay longer someplace, I'm assuming that is there something that's usually involved in travel insurance that would allow for, okay, we need additional supplies to purchase there. Is travel insurance going to cover that?
I believe they do. And the other thing that's interesting too is if the flights are still coming in, so you're stuck there, it doesn't mean the flights coming in to take your room are not canceled. So you could be kicked out of your resort.
No one ever thought of that. So here we are all excited. We're thinking we may not.
Well, and that's the thing, right? At least in a cruise ship, you're stuck in a cruise ship. Like you've got your room. I mean, yeah, they're delivering your food, and you don't get the.
Okay, but that's the whole thing. So if we had to stay there, was
They
travel
probably-
insurance going to cover us for additional night stay that we didn't pay for, right? Because if we can't go anywhere, we got to sleep somewhere.
Probably not initially, but yes, you'd have to probably be on a credit card or something, and then they would reimburse you. But the thing
Well, our
is
travel
that
insurance is tied through a credit card. Like, and that's what we got through as a credit card program. So we should be okay.
totally depends on if someone's coming in to take your room or not. Then it's an issue. It depends on the resort. I'd be talking to the resort as well.
Okay.
But if you're quarantined on that resort, chances are they're not going to allow people to come in.
Correct.
It would be more of an island thing.
Yes.
So I think you're safe, but even then, it's iffy, right? Like, I don't know. They might find a spot on the island to quarantine people in. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't know how it would happen.
Sorry, I didn't want to throw a...
No, I'm just trying to think. No, it's a good thing I'm talking this through with you.
Yeah.
So if it was a case found on the resort, they may quarantine us on the resort. If that's the case, they wouldn't be letting anybody else in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then the other way would be if it's an island thing, they were scanning people on the way in anyways, right?
You'll be fine in Cuba, I'm sure. The one thing, though, I've noticed is that on some of the smaller print on insurance is that because we're aware of it already happening, they may not cover. And there's actually, and it's on the government site, because I've been keeping on top of it because I'm thinking of going away again before the end of April. And I'm like going, I'm going to go to an all-inclusive 1 week. And it's one of those things where, do you do it or don't you do it? Like, I mean, I always get cancellation insurance, even if it's a little bit more expensive, because you insure your investment of your holiday.
Yep.
Always, hands down. Especially even if you're on a cruise ship, cancel at any time is really key, because if you don't, you lose it all.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm a big proponent of that. It might be a little bit more expensive, but always look at your price points
Okay,
and then
so that's
insure.
a good tip, though. So, I mean, that, aside from just getting the travel insurance, what does that insurance cover?
Yeah, especially during these times. It's sort of like if you go on a cruise during hurricane season, you're already aware that it's hurricane season. They're not going to give you your money back if you get ported to a port and you're stuck there for a week. They're not going to say, well, it's hurricane season.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's one of those things. I don't know what in this situation it's probably going to develop. You'll be fine because you're heading out this week, but yeah. Which area of Cuba are you going to?
Kale Cruise, it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or Kale Cruise,
I
it's
love
called.
Cuba.
Alex just walked right by the camera.
It's okay. I love Cuba.
Yeah. So I've been to Cayo Coco, Cayo Guillermo, obviously, Cayo Santa Maria.
Me too.
So this is called Kale Cruise, which I'm assuming is another, maybe an archipelago, some kind of thing to it. So it's supposed to be very quiet. I've heard good things about the resort. Honestly, it's got a beach and a clean room. I'm good.
I hear you.
I will always find something to eat. I find something to drink. I just seriously want a face plant in the sun.
Yes.
That was a nice way to put it. Anyways, and I am not going to stop traveling because of the damn coronavirus. I'm just going to protect myself.
Yes.
And then if I ever feel symptoms, I will protect other people.
Exactly, and that's the key, I think, too, Stephanie, is really, being responsible about it. It's like that gentleman coming from Italy knew Italy had coronavirus. That was just last Saturday, and it's like, it's like almost half the core, like 1/3 of the population there. That's huge amounts. He didn't feel symptoms while he left the country, but you know how we all talk about this, is that, I'm going away, doesn't matter how I feel, I'm going. You might be sick, and you're still going to push through because it's a vacation, and I get it. I've done it. You know what I mean? But what if you're the one that's carrying the thing?
Yeah.
You're like ground zero.
It's one thing. It's the one thing. It's a cold. Like if you're feeling symptoms, please go and get checked first. I mean, I'm assuming that our testing is going to be a little bit different here in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
And because we have great health coverage,
thank goodness,
we don't have to worry about it. The testing will happen, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
And one other thing too is that, like about 4 or 5 years ago, I was going on a cruise around Easter time. And one of the things they do is they go down the line while you're standing in line, doesn't matter what line you're in, and they say, is anybody feeling any symptoms of sickness or anything? If you are, just let us know. You will get a free visit to the physician on the ship before even boarding the ship. So they had a standalone clinic to decide whether or not you were feasible to go on the ship, whether you could get medications or stuff like that. But it's interesting how they screen then. Think about how they're going to screen now.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think,
and I appreciate that. I mean,
absolutely.
Because it's protecting everybody, protecting their country, their economy. So you got to be patient with people. Expect longer lines at airports, longer lines for security stuff. There might be additional steps that are taken. Just keep telling yourself you're going there. You're going on holiday. You eventually will get there. It's all good.
And it's not, how I know there was a huge discussion about. There was a lot of. I wouldn't say racism involved, but there was a little bit about certain, because it originated in China,
some idiot,
but
some
decided,
idiot politician decided he's calling it the Wuhan.
So the thing is this:
Don't do that.
The thing is this: is that now the most cases are in Italy. It's not, you know what I mean? Like we look at all of these things. Maybe I'm wrong now because it's the end of the day, but yesterday it changes like daily. Yeah. But the thing is it's
Italy, Iran, South Korea.
Right. So the thing is, at the end of the day, let's not point fingers when we're in an airport and say, "Oh, that person's coughing." Though I got to be honest, I was on the airplane and someone was coughing right behind me, and I kept thinking, it drives me nuts normally, but it drives me even more.
Correct. So from what I saw on another YouTube video, because I spend a lot of time on YouTube, there was a doctor that was saying that the area that you need to look at, so the row in front of you, the row behind you, the row across from you.
Dr. Gupta was telling that facts and myths. Yeah, that was the same one.
Shout out to Sanjay Gupta. So and it's front, behind, the side. So anyone that is showing any kind of symptoms that's either looks feverish or is coughing or having trouble breathing or anything around you, that's when you need to notify your flight attendant immediately to take care of things. And they'll probably actually take them off the plane if you haven't taken off yet. So you got to really double check on your way in. And just a little thing that Norm said he was talking to a lady on the weekend, and she was commenting about, she said, you're going to see a lot of people with sunglasses on.
Really?
An additional protection for your eyes. Never thought of it. So I have little reading glasses. I'm just going to be using them to watch my little tablet or whatever on the plane. And I said it's not a ton of, it's not a lot, but one more barrier, right?
Right.
Which is
well,
good.
and again, preparation, right? I've people used to make fun of me when I would go on holidays with them, and I'm the person that when I sit down in my seat, I pull out my little Lysol wipes. I wipe the hand thing. I wipe the buckles. And that's even before this. When I was sitting there, I did it again, and people were looking at me, and I'm like, you can look all you want, but I'm not going to get sick because I am preparing. So I won't. It's preparation.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to finish on something fun.
Absolutely.
So since our live show is coming up on March 23rd, and it's all about wine-based cocktails, if you're planning to play along and maybe start making cocktails on your own or follow along on the show, you need the proper tools. So even though Cynthia couldn't join us today, she was kind enough to give you a little tour.
Oh, wonderful.
Of what kind of cocktail tools and stuff that you should have at your home, the bare minimum, so that you can play along.
Wow, I can't wait.
today I get to talk to you about bar equipment. And as if you've ever seen our show or listened to our podcast, you'll know that I love to play around with different cocktails, different mixes of drinks, and create my own kind of blends of things. I like to screw things up, mix stuff up that probably shouldn't be mixed up, and see if it tastes good or not. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what you might want to have on hand in your home bar, and also some things you can kind of use instead of, because right now a lot of the world is kind of hibernating and not leaving their home. So we'll talk about a few things you might have on hand that would work just as well as the official fancy kind of cocktail tools. So the first kind of indispensable tool that I use in my bar pretty much every time I make cocktails is my shaker. There are two kinds of shakers that you can choose from. Okay, so this is a cocktail shaker. So it's got a big solid cup, and then it's got a lid that goes on it with some holes in the top. There's a lid to cover that top so that it all stays inside when you're shaking it. So that's a traditional kind of cocktail shaker. I actually got this one at Bubblegum Shrimp in California when I went and I got my drink in it. So that's a cocktail shaker. There's another style of shaker that you've probably seen used at bars, and that's called a Boston shaker. I call it the fancy shaker because, it's fancy in my house. Basically, your Boston shaker has two pieces. It has a large, usually stainless steel cup, and then a glass. And how it works is you put your ingredients into this glass. Once they're all in, so this glass being the clear glass that goes into the shaker, then you dump all the ingredients in the shaker and you shake it like this. So basically you shake it back and forth in one hand. I'm not gonna lie, usually when people have one hand that's better at shaking with than the other, mine is definitely my right hand, and I often will shake over the sink because I make it leak a lot. Anyways, then you're gonna pop it off. You'll have all of your ingredients in here. A lot of times when we do our cocktails, they might have ingredients like basil leaves or mint leaves or chunks of fruit. And we don't necessarily want those in the final cocktail. So that's when we need a strainer. There's a traditional cocktail strainer, which you'll see that has kind of the wires, and I'll get a picture so that Steph can put it on the podcast so you can see. That's like a traditional cocktail strainer. There's also one that's called a julep strainer, which is more like a flat spoon with holes in it as well. So I actually have a julep strainer, but I couldn't find it to show it to you today. Not all of us have these fancy strainers at home. I also have my regular old kitchen strainer, and I literally bought this one before I started getting into the fancy tools so that I could put it on top of my cocktail strainer to strain, or I'll put it on top of the glass and then pour it into it that way to help keep kind of all those extra bits and chunks that you don't want in the cocktail out. So that's the purpose of a strainer. So far we've talked about the cocktail shaker and the strainer. When I got into mojitos, which is one of my favorite cocktails to make, and I also started doing some of the fruit infusions that you would have seen in our mocktails show, I needed a muddler. And basically a muddler is a stick with a wide end and a thinner end, and you use the wide end and you basically put all your ingredients in your shaker. Oh, that was great sound effects. Sorry. Okay, anyways, back to it. So you put all your ingredients in there and you tamp them down with that. It helps to kind of release some of the flavors of either your spices. It helps to get some of the juices out of your fruit that happen to be in there. There are different types of muddlers. This was actually the first one I bought, which is a good old-fashioned wooden one. Some people will just use a big, thick wooden spoon in place of it. That works as well, too. Then this is my fancy, more professional one that I got when I started playing a little bit more. It's got like a waffle end on the bottom. Again, really good for extracting those juices and the flavors from my spices that I put in my drinks. And then the third one, this one actually isn't officially a muddler, but it basically serves the same purpose. This came with my Vitamix, I believe. It's meant to kind of get the stuff down and into the blender, push stuff down so you're not sticking your fingers on the top of the blender. But this also has the same kind of weight and the same kind of feel as a muddler, so that can be used as well. What else did I got to show you? Oh yeah, so not all of our drinks are shaken. You've often heard James Bond order his martini shaken but not stirred. But we do have the option to do stirred cocktails as well. So a longer spoon, a longer kind of handled cocktail spoon is what you use. You'll see that in kits, they'll have an even longer stick than this. They've got more of a round shape to them. At the end of the day, you want a spoon that's long enough that when you go to put it in your glass, that you're not sticking your fingers in the drink. And then you would just use that to stir your cocktails. A regular spoon will work. In a pinch, I've used a butter knife, but that's a cocktail spoon to stir your drinks in a classier, fancier way. What else do I use? Yes. So with a lot of the cocktails that I do, I love a good margarita. I love a Caesar, which is a Canadian cocktail we've featured a few times on the show. And what you want to do with those cocktails is rim them, and that's basically the act of putting like a spice or a sugar, usually salt or sugar or something like that, around the rim of the glass. In order to do that, you can get, this is a rimming salt by Sauza. Not my favorite tequila, but they make a really good rimming salt. And what I do with this one is I put the juice, typically my lime juice or lemon juice if I'm doing a Caesar, in one side, and then I have, you can see, basically I have my salt, my rimming kind of ingredient on the other side. And basically we're gonna take our cup, put one side in here to get the wet, and then we're gonna take one side, put it in here to get the dry. You don't have to buy, again, they are really cool. There are some really cool rimming kits that I've seen, that I've used in bars where I've bartended, that have a sponge on one side and you keep the spice on the other side, you put it all together and it just kind of stored like that. I've also, in a pinch many times, just used a couple of saucers where I put my liquid in one, my salt or my sugar in the other, and I do my rimming with that. What else? I think that's basically, those are the big, most important things I have behind my bar. Of course, I have my handy corkscrew at all times. This I can use for opening bottles, like beer bottles, or I can use it for opening wine bottles. So that I always have behind my bar as well. So I think that's it. Those are kind of, in a nutshell, the basic tools I keep in my bar at all times. The other thing I do have is an ice bucket. Again, you can use a bowl. Yeah, so if you have any questions, or maybe share, why don't you share with us what you have in your home bar that you can't live without. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
So keep eating.
So yes, I come back from Cuba March 20th, just March, actually I come on the weekend before. So yes, I'll be here back in time for March 23rd. It's our live show. I do know that I'm going to teach you how to make a proper sangria.
Oh, very
Because it's
exciting.
going to be launching it here anyway, so I'm very particular about sangria. I'm a purist with sangria.
love
so we're going
sangria.
to, yes, we are going to do a sangria. We are going to do a, I'm going to do the different 75. No, I'm going to do calamocho, which is sort of a quick cocktail from northern Spain. And then we thought we would do a Moscato Bee's Knees, which is something different to do with Moscato, which is great for spring. So it's kind of like this combination of this gin-based cocktail with a Moscato wine, which it's really light and pretty. So people who are here for tickets, you actually get to sample these cocktails with us. So it's so you have to get your tickets. We only have a few left. And then, of course, Cynthia has some kind of game plan. She's been making prizes and things. So there's always kind of games and prizes. So it's like going to one of my classes, but we got a whole team of us involved, which is a lot more fun. But if not, it'll be airing probably the week afterwards, maybe the weekend after by the time I get it edited. So if you can't join us that day, or if you're not close to the Sudbury area to join us in person, make sure you catch the show the following week. But other than that, I like because we got to meet and up to chat things because the news is heavy.
It is.
It's heavy. Okay, we're going back to our fries. Everybody keep traveling, keep eating and drinking, keep supporting restaurants and stuff because they can't work from home and they need your support. And just be safe and be smart.
Absolutely, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to all of our network channels.
Oh my God, it's like she never laughed. Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
So here's what happened since then. I did leave for Cuba as planned. The day we left for Cuba, we also found out that Cuba had their first cases of COVID-19. There was 3 Italian residents, I guess, that were visiting Cuba, and luckily it wasn't anywhere close to where our resort was. So that turned out okay. We were in a safe place. We were in a very quiet resort near Cayo Coco. So even though it was a quiet area, there was also, of course, a lot less tourists on site, and that was actually dwindling on an ongoing basis. The day after we arrived is when the Canadian government started making announcements that they wanted residents to come home. So we did just that. We didn't, we basically were on a waiting list of people wanting flights home, and the very first flight that we could get out was the following Wednesday. So we got to spend 4 to 5 days in Cuba, but you could really see how the resort was starting to panic, rationing off ingredients, options for different foods and restaurants were starting to dwindle. Surprisingly, I still saw a few new couples arriving when we were waiting for a flight home. I believe they were Canadians, I'm not sure. But it was one of those things that all we were focused on is staying safe. We had a decent suite that we can spend a lot of time in, go out in the sun and enjoy it while we can, try to stay positive, keep up to date on the news, check in with family, friends, and my staff at home, so that we could be prepared when we got home. And luckily, as I mentioned in the episode, I was very well organized. So I had things like, I had a few N95 masks that I just have them for travel for purposes, which is great. A friend of mine got them for me a while back. I have gloves. I had alcohol sanitizing wipes. I had regular kind of wipes. I had baggies to put any tissues or wipes in. I had everything with me, including additional medication, Tide laundry packs. In case something happened and I was stuck in Cuba even longer, at least I was prepared. And luckily, when I came home, our son restocked our fridge and everything, so we didn't have to go out and do any errands when we got home. We basically parked the car and came inside, and we are on lockdown now. So welcome to day 5 of my 14-day self-isolation. So my husband and I have been holed up in here for the last 5 days, and we're planning to do so right up until that 14-day window. And then we will go among the living, kind of. We're still going to do baby steps on the way out because nobody is completely sure yet that the 14 days is exactly the right amount of time to make sure that you did not catch any symptoms or show any symptoms, or it could be infectious at all. So that's all changed in the last 2 weeks. I made some notes here so I don't forget it all. Currently here in Sudbury, there are only 3 confirmed cases of COVID-19. I guess they are under isolation and observation right now. Most of Sudbury, as far as I know, especially here in Northern Ontario, are actually paying attention to it. The only thing I would caution is that if you are listening to this or watching this and you have returned from a vacation outside of Canada, doesn't matter where it's from, doesn't matter if you think that the place you came from is safe, you still had to get from there to here. And that was the only thing I kept explaining to not just Norma, but my family and my friends that were concerned about us, is that I was safe where I was and I'm safe at home. It's the in-between is the problem. We had the amount of March break families that were on our flight, that were usually on our flights, but because we came home early, they crammed us all together. So where it was an almost empty plane on the way there, it was packed on the way back. People coughing and sneezing could be just regular colds, but everybody had their own wipes and was wiping things down. Not a lot of people wearing masks, which surprised me. Even those who were coughing and sneezing weren't wearing masks. That's what they're there for. We managed to get through it as much as possible. There was not a whole lot of delays at the airport, surprisingly, especially if you're a Nexus holder, which it's a global entry program, or Canadian in the US, made things go much faster. But aside from them asking me questions and if I felt okay, there was no one taking temperatures like they did on the way to Cuba. When you get off the plane in Cuba, they did take our temperature and to make sure that we were not showing any signs of a fever before we even got into the baggage area. So I'm kind of surprised that they weren't showing precautions like that at Pearson International Airport in Toronto. But maybe it's something that's going to come up later. Business stuff, of course, the bar where we taped the episode is now closed for regular dining as per the instructions for our Ontario government. We did start doing takeout last week. We're going to try it for a couple of weeks and see if that works. My staff wasn't comfortable doing delivery, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't either. So we decided just do takeout for the time being, and we'll see how it goes. I've also moved some of my wine classes to a virtual class. So in Sudbury, if you wanted to pick up the foods that go along with that, the wines for that class, you can do so. And then even if you're not here and want to just follow along, there's an LCBO shopping list and you can sign up for the classes and anyways, that's on the Wander website if you're interested. Aside from that, of course, the live show was supposed to happen tonight, so I thought it was fitting that we launched the podcast and this episode today. Obviously we can't do it, social distancing and all, so we are going to do it later on Skype. As soon as I am out of isolation is the plan. This way I can go get the ingredients that we need, so we will still do the cocktails that we normally did, but the 3 of us are actually going to join on Skype. So the 3 of us can actually see and chat and feel like we're together in the room. We'll make cocktails and try them and have a lot of fun. And then we will take that Skype chat in its entirety, and I will upload it on YouTube and Facebook. So shortly at the beginning of April at some point, you'll be able to actually, with a shopping list that I'll provide, you can actually have your in-home thing like you were there with us live all along. So again, thank you for your patience and understanding during these crazy last couple of weeks, and especially because we've been changing the format and how often we're doing these podcast things. Make sure that you are following along on social media because while we are stir crazy in each of our own abodes, we'll be doing things like little demos and posts and tips and things like that, so that you can still keep up your love of food, wine, and travel from wherever you are hiding out in the next little while. So look forward to seeing you then. Be well, stay safe.
Thanks so much for watching this video. We love putting it together. It's so much fun. All of our favorite things, good food, good drinks, a lot of travel talk, and we put it all together in one fun show. So make sure you follow us here, click on the videos below, follow, subscribe, and find us on your favorite podcast player. We'll see you at our next trip.